What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with your host, Compan.
The hard deconstruction.
Today's film is
It 2017. The new It.
I defy you to throw me off like that again. It's 2017, directed by Andy Muschietti.
The hard deconstruction.
Based on a screenplay by Chase Palmer. That sounds like a guy who wants to jerk off a lot. Get it? Because he's running after his hand. Also based on a version of Carrie Fukunaga. Oh boy, I'm glad I did not pronounce that wrong. I realized very fast after because I was gonna say fucka and Naga, but then I realized if I pronounce that incorrectly, I'll be in big trouble.
Well,
anyway,
that's what the edit button's for.
that's Cary Fukunaga. He was originally supposed to direct this. He's the guy who directed episodes of True Detective, and he got really famous for that. Him and this writer. And
Cool.
there's also Gary Dauberman worked on a screenplay. Apparently, I was reading parts of the original screenplay, or I saw, a video. There's a guy named... There's a YouTube channel. I think it's called Frost something. Oh, shit. It's a good YouTube channel called Frost Nightmare or something like that. Some horror site. Anyway, he was talking about the original screenplay of it, and a lot of it did not sound interesting. It sounded like it really strayed from the novel. I mean, this place strays very lightly, but that original strayed. Like, I think it was scenes with not Eddie Kazbak.
See, I don't know the novel nearly well enough to care. I just saw it. Yeah, and it's interesting because you had just read the book, and I haven't read it. I don't think I ever read it fully, or if I did, it was like when I was like 10 or something. So, like, we have totally different perspectives on
Yeah,
this.
apparently in the original script that Cary Fukunaga was close to direct, it was going to have Stanley Uris is the character who's Jewish in the film.
Yeah.
And originally it was a scene where there was going to be a naked woman coming onto him. Or it could have been Eddie's character, I'm not sure, and that was supposed to be
Did
a
they have
signal
a
of one of the
sheet
fears.
with a hole in it?
Yeah, they were just talking about how differences were, and like even the guy who reviewed it, he was like, "Nah, this isn't very good." So apparently, they went. I forgot why Cary Fukunaga's version of the film did not go through because he was for a while working to make this film. And this was even a project that the Duffer Brothers, I was telling you earlier, the Duffer Brothers originally were wanting, pitching to directors.
I almost
Stranger
said
Things.
Strangeland.
Now imagine that. Imagine if D. Snyder had directed this. Yikes.
Oh my God.
He was, but the Duffer Brothers were obviously turned down because they weren't the Stranger Things guys yet. So they actually, they got passed on, and they decided to make Stranger Things, which is essentially a version of 80s films and the original It TV
Coming
films.
of age, sort of.
Right, but they did
children.
keep Finn Wolfhard, who is in Stranger Things. I don't know what the timeline was.
He's great. It's so weird. I don't even think of him as the kid from Stranger Things.
Yeah, he's
anymore.
very good in this. But
Richie.
Cary Fukunaga, I don't know what. I think he wanted to make split films, like an adult version and a children's version, just like this. But I don't know what was so different from his version, or what he probably wanted a lot of creative control, and the studio told him to go fuck off. Whatever happened, it worked out a lot better. So this film obviously made a lot of money. Because we got a lot of news about the summer of cinema. 2017 was horrible. Like there was no money to be made, and this film made 117 million, which is making it the highest.
I think it broke records.
It did. I think it's the highest earning R-rated horror film to make that much money. Do you know what I mean? Which is very good. And just to say, and it's as a Stephen King adaptation, it's only second to The Dark Tower, right? Am I right?
Oh, God.
Oof. Hey, look, Stephen.
You know what though? Like seriously, why couldn't The Dark Tower have fucking listened to this movie?
Because I have no clue.
I went into this movie expecting it to be bad, or at least like maybe decent.
Right.
So because of The Dark Tower, because it was so horrible that my expectations were like
it was that bad. So they got a Pennywise reference in The Dark Tower, so that's great, right? I mean,
that's true.
That just got us
great
ready.
Movie.
Oof. There was an actual
this movie really,
Pennywise who is incognito actually created an actual with a sign his own circus with the word Pennywise in it. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That's totally
And
makes
also
sense.
Blaine
That's
the
in The
Train
Dark Tower.
was there.
That makes absolute sense. Fucking morons made that movie. Anyway, so we're obviously going to get into spoilers for the film as well as the novel, because I recently just listened to the It audio book with the actor from Wing, Steven Weber. Excellent, excellent audiobook. I've never heard a man say the N-word more times than Steven Weber in that audiobook because Stephen
That's
King...
probably why he took it on.
Stephen King loves the N-word. I bet you after
he really does.
When he saw this adaptation, he was like, where's the N-word? I wanted more N-words in this movie. That's probably what he said. And then he said, this machine just called me an asshole! So anyway, it's 2017, a 2-hour, 15-minute adventure drama horror directed by Andy Muschietti. I believe it was produced by his wife or his sister. It was something Muschietti, so that's cool. It's nice to have somebody in there with you. So the film stars Finn Wolfhard as Richie Tozier, Jaden Liebherr as Bill Denborough, Jeremy Ray Taylor as Ben Hanscom. So Bill Denborough's
basically
stuttering.
a bunch of people no one's ever heard of.
All right, let me just go through the characters. Whatever. Bill Denborough's the stuttering kid. Ben Hanscom is the fat kid. Sophia Lillis as Beverly Marsh, which is the girl of the losers group. Finn Wolfhard obviously playing Richard Tozier, like we just said, the funny guy. Chosen Jacobs, now that's a name, as Mike Hanlon. I'm telling you, these African American kids got some cool names.
Chosen Jacobs and Finn Wolfhard. What kind of name is that?
Yeah, Finn. That sounds like a majestic white man with a sword. Like Chosen sounds like a cool name. Like you can walk through and have your own album. But that's funny. There's always there's another African American actor. I think he was from, and I don't know why I remembered it. It was like so specific. He was from the movie Final Destination 3. His name was Texas Battle. Now, if that's not a fucking awesome name, that's an awesome name. The guy's probably from New Jersey and shit. All right,
wait, Jack. Now, let me ask you: Is this guy Bill Skarsgård who plays Pennywise? Is he from Denmark or something?
He is the son of Stellan Skarsgård, that famous actor who
He's from Sweden. Okay.
Yeah, he's from the Thor movies recently, but he's been in a lot of films. Stellan Skarsgård was in a recent miniseries that I saw that was a UK show. I believe it's a UK show. It's great, but I forgot the name of it. But Stellan Skarsgård, if you've seen the actor, you know who he is. And he's also the brother of the guy who just played Tarzan. Stellan Skarsgård has
family of actors.
Yeah, he has 6 or 7 kids, and they're all actors. So he knows where the money is. But they're like the talented Baldwins. That's the difference. There's also
the Baldwins are sort of talented.
That's true. One of them is super religious now, and he just talks about
the one that was in Biodome.
Yeah, he's
Steven.
Listen, if you were stuck in a room with hey buddy, I'd run to religion too.
You think Pauly Shore broke his mind?
Yeah, he was dead. Jack Dylan Grazer as Eddie Kasprak, the funny neurotic kid. Although you would think that the stereotypical Stanley Uris would be the
You're making fun of
stereotype.
My people.
No, I meant because Wyatt Oleff as Stanley Uris, and obviously Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. There's also other people in the film, but those are the main kids, the lucky number 7, but they call them just the losers in this one. Obviously, there's going to be comparisons to the original 1990 television film, which I actually re-saw after I listened to the audiobook, and I thought I didn't think it was that fantastic. I thought, obviously, who was the original Pennywise?
Tim Curry.
Excellent. Tim Curry was very funny and very iconic with that film. And while watching this, I was like, let me see what they do, because there was obviously a lot of people got pissed off with that first reveal of the Pennywise in this film. Because the original 1990 film, the Pennywise in that movie, he had a sort of 50s sort of clown look to him, like a general clown look. And then whenever he had those demonic faces, like his eyes were all screwy and his teeth were gigantic. It was actually pretty unsettling.
Well, this clown is a little more obviously scary looking.
Yeah, and that's what people got a little pissed off about, or a lot pissed off. They were like, no, he's supposed to lure the kids in because he's a clown. And I remember listening to the audiobook, and I was like, he only lures in basically Georgie. That's it. Everybody else, he's blatantly scaring the shit out of them, and he doesn't really show up as the clown that much. He only shows up maybe once or twice as the clown in the book.
He's in this movie a lot more than Tim Curry was, though.
I didn't get that feeling. I thought he got about the same amount of screen time as Tim Curry. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I feel like it was just one. There was a point in the movie where it just felt like a series of let's scare the shit out of these kids, and just every second it's oh, and here's Beverly getting scared, and
they also play Pennywise's his motivations a little bit differently, because in the book, I believe he just ate these kids. He would eat pieces of people, like Georgie. He just eats his arm and lets him to die in the street. That's in the novel. in the film, he actually consumes, I guess, the whole of Georgie. The whole of Georgie. He takes him onto the sewer and kills him. But then he'll eat people, like, because I remember in the novel, the whole novel kind of starts out with, you know, the adult version of these people, and they come to this town. What's the name of this town?
Derry.
And they go to this town because there's a really horrible, you know, homophobic, anti-homophobic action that was taken against this guy. They throw him over a bridge, and he's alive in this water, this gay guy, and Pennywise rips his arm off and kills him too. So he's basically ripping arm. But in this film, he'll rip people. He loves arms. He'll consume people, but then at the very end, he has like in his deadlights, which I actually like the version of the deadlights in this film, which is pretty cool. But he has like the bodies floating up in the air. But let's go a little bit into this film. So this movie, I'm not going to try to compare it to the book until later.
Explain what the deadlights are, like, in depth in the book.
I don't think so, because in the novels, Pennywise is an interdimensional creature. He's not just
from like Kodash space. Like, he's from the same place that, like, Dandelo from Dark Tower.
Give a little explanation of what Dandelo and, you know, all that. Not Dandelo specifically.
Well, he's like,
what are these creatures?
There's just like the space between the worlds.
Okay.
Which it gets.
Is it called the meta? Tower. Is it called the metaverse or the macroverse or something?
Macroverse.
Okay.
And the Dark Tower kind of binds it all together, and then like in between the dimensions, there's this like kind of nothing space, which is just like full of like creatures and shit. And he's one of the creatures. And there's this guy Dandelo who like feeds on fear and stuff too. Well, he's not a guy; he's like a thing.
Yeah, apparently in this film version. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. That's it. Like, it's just he's just a creature from like between the worlds.
I guess in this film version, the way they make Pennywise, he scares the kids to make them a little bit tastier. I guess it's like a pheromonal thing. Like we were talking about certain
we were talking about how
pieces of meat,
when they get scared, their milk gets tainted.
Yes,
so that's why sheep milk is expensive.
And he says that when he's scaring the kids, it makes them a little bit more tenderized. It makes them more delicious to them. In the book, it's not like that. His fear is obviously to make them just scarier to get them. It's not. It's a little. I just listened to the audiobook probably a couple months ago. But anyway, so this film starts out just like the actual original 1990s version. They does split off a lot of things, but starts out with stuttering Bill Denbrough, and he does have his stutter here. It's not as badly acted as the 1990s version. I hate that I have to compare it to the other one, so I'll try to stop doing that.
It's hard to like act a stutter though.
Yeah. So this kid did really good. Here's the thing I got to say about the kids in this film. They're all great. They're really, really good, and it's upsetting that they won't be in the sequel. And it's a smart move that they actually. Well, like somebody was pointing out that it's a smart move that they split the film into two movies. But there's going to be a real issue because in the novel is sorted out that these adults come to Derry and they're having memories, and the book will flash back to them as a kid dealing with all these memories that they had suppressed, or that
but now it's not going to be flashbacks. Now it's
right. So now, but as with the kids dealing with all this stuff, because it's the action of the kids that they had. They did a lot against Pennywise, and they dealt a lot with it. When they're adults, they're just remembering. They only really deal with Pennywise just half the amount that the kids do in this version. Do you know what I mean? So, in the film version, what are they going to do? The sequel, as adults, they're going to be eating food and stuff like that and go, and just waxing away. You know what they should do? Imagine they show, the kids, because there's a big, obvious scene in the Chinese restaurant in the novel, and it happened in the original miniseries where they go to a Chinese restaurant and start eating, and they go, remember that time? And then they just play the full first movie, and then they just go back to...
and at the very end, the last 10 minutes of the movie, they're back to adults now. It's like, yeah, that was a good time. And then Pennywise shows up, and they just all pull out guns or something.
Yeah. Dude, I've used that joke already twice. But anyway, so we are introduced to Georgie Denbrough, who is Bill Denbrough's little brother. He gets the paraffin wax, makes him a little newspaper boat. Georgie is playing with the boat out in the street in the rain. I don't know why he would let your little brother out there. It's weird because in the novels,
he wasn't expecting a demon to pull him into a
I know, but this town has a horrible thing with kids missing, and I would not let my little brother go out by himself. It's like everybody forgets. I know, I understand they ignore it, but it seems like these kids are smarter than that, but I guess not. And anyway, Georgie unfortunately runs into Pennywise, and this is where we first meet this version of Bill Skarsgård's version of Pennywise. And I gotta say, like, when I was watching, I was like, well, he's okay. The more I thought about the performance, I actually very much liked what they did with this Pennywise version.
I think this is a little blasphemous of me, but I might like it better than the Tim Curry.
Yeah, there's something about it. It's a lot more creepier. I mean, like, as a kid, when I saw the original it scared the shit out of me, stuff about it. This movie doesn't really scare me, but I can see if I was a 10-year-old kid watching this, I'd be shitting bricks watching, because there's a lot of things with this film.
Can you imagine how painful it would be to shit a brick?
I bet you somebody has. Somebody has to have.
You think someone shit a brick?
Like, you mean like an actual brick? I mean like a brick of shit? I don't know.
No, like a brick. Like a brick.
That's gotta... I'm sure listen, people put a lot of stuff on their cavities. People can get away with a lot of... People get away with a lot of stuff, and like, did you ever see that one with the guy who put the glass bottle and he sits down and it cracks in his ass? And he just stands up and blood starts shooting out of his asshole. I don't want to hear. I don't know. Stop it. Anyway, so we get to meet Bill Skarsgård, Pennywise, in the first scene when he's talking to Georgie through the sewer, and I like that they kept the part where he's like, we've got popcorn, pop, 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 pop. And he's doing that stuff, and he's like, we have the horrible impersonation of this guy, and he's also talking about, do you smell all the food at the carnival, and you hear the carnival music and stuff like that. It's done really well. The only thing is the whole point of the sale of this movie is like, we all float down here, you'll float too, and that line is not even uttered in that first scene. So I was like, what the hell? Which is in the book. But
don't worry. Stop comparing it to the book.
But I have to, because I just heard the book recently. Anyway, I will say this. What did you think of Bill Skarsgård? You said you think he's better than the...
I might like him better than Tim Curry.
What is it about his performance that you think is better?
He was just, like, legitimately, like,
spooky.
Fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Like, the way... Not even, like, the obviously creepy stuff, but more like how, like the scene where, like... I don't know, this one really stuck out, where he's running at him in the basement with the water... in the basement.
Yes.
And then the kid gets up the stairs, and then he just, like, is laying on the bottom stairs and just, like, rolls away. And he just looks up.
Yeah,
he could have easily just grabbed them still, but he's like, oh, you got up the 2 stairs, and now I can't get you. And he rolled back into the water. It's like just... Like, I just
like his goofy scream. Yeah, he has that goofy scream, because he'll start running after you, but it's like this weird effect where they do fast motion. They fast forward him. But
he's like double. Side to side, like very like cartoony,
and he's doing that woo like Ric Flair or something, running after somebody.
Also, like the scene where the headless, like everything was very cartoony, like the way that the headless guy in the library is like running, but like it's the way he's moving, it's like so jerky and cartoony. And,
yeah,
like, that fucking leper guy. Oh my god.
The thing is that a lot of people complaining about with this film is that they say it's not scary, but it's very atmospheric, and I'm like, you people are like in your 30s. The people who are watching this are like in their 20s, 30s. They're not gonna really get scared of this film. These are the people that are most vocal, that saw the '90s version, and they've been scared
by a horror movie anyway. It's not scary. It's fucking awesome. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been watching horror films since there's nothing really scarier after. Nothing's like gonna stop you. That's why this movie relies on jump scares, because the movie back then were jump scares as well. They were just different. They were just timed differently. Do you know what I mean?
But these aren't jump scares like in a cheesy way. These are like,
but they're obviously jump scares where you'll hear sound effects. Like, it's that not telegraphed, but the sound effect where you hear boom, it's that. I mean, that's what a lot of people had complaints about too, but I was fine with it. I mean, it looked cool. I liked the way it looked.
It didn't come off like cheesy or forced to me. Like,
No, I liked it, but I mean, it was the jump scare. It is as classic a jump scare as possible, because it has that booming sound effect before every. Fine. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? You want me to hate me? I got no problem.
Forget about
it. We're introduced to Ben Hanscom, who's the new kid in class. He's the little chubby boy. The kid's a very good actor. I didn't think, I wasn't so sure he was I wasn't sure anybody was gonna be good, but he was very good. And we introduced to Beverly Marsh as another character. And they're sort of flirtatious. She's sort of flirtatious. She gets picked on because there's rumors of her having sex with other students. I don't know if they rumored that
Did you see how gross that garbage was that bitchy pharmacist girl poured on her?
Yeah, I know. I was just wishing that
it looked like boogers and stuff.
I wish Eddie had spat in her face. She was such an asshole. And there's also a joke on Ben listening to New Kids on the Block. That's the only joke that I thought was completely out of...
It was too really goofy.
It. I thought it was funny, but I still thought that was like out of a comedy film, that scene.
And did you see how like she made that very subtle reference to a song?
Yeah. Hey, that's great. So then we're also, a big thing here is that the least interesting kid in the group is Bill Denborough, the main kid, Stuttering Bill.
You think he's the least interesting? I think
yeah,
the
I
Jewish
do think
one
so.
Is the least
Oh, Stan? Okay.
Yeah.
Because Bill has obviously he's unofficially the main character of the film, even though the film sort of deals with a lot of the kids at the same time.
He's the one that's fucking making it all happen.
Yeah, Bill's the one whose brother is the one obviously who's killed in the beginning of the film, and he has this guilt throughout the whole film, and he thinks that his brothers might still be alive, or he has this false notion in his that he's been telling himself that his brother.
He could have been floating up there with one arm,
Could be, and it's just that's his main impetus to get this thing done. He wants to stop Pennywise. He doesn't know what it is. Obviously, they don't know. And the difference in the book is that these kids all see these different apparitions throughout their dealings with him. And, one by one, they decide, there's something going on in this town. And one thing this is a thing that bothered me that I had spoken to Danny about earlier is that they really reduced Mike Hanlon's character, which really pissed me off because Mike Hanlon is a very important character in the book. He's the
historian, right?
He's the guy he's the historian. He's the black character who's very important, and he's essentially narrating what's happening. He's the one that narrates all of what Pennywise did in the past. Like, there's a sequence in the book that I think maybe they'll do in the sequel.
I'm gonna have to read the book.
Yeah, it's a great book. It's my favorite Stephen King novel, like next to Mr. Mercedes.
Like on this movie, if you didn't know that he was supposed to be a big character.
Yeah, he's like he disappears because he's the first character.
I didn't care.
He's essentially the second kid that appears in the film because they changed up his origin. But anyway, and let me get back to him being in the novels. He's the one narrating essentially the story of what happens throughout the whole thing, and he's a town historian. He's the one that stayed in the town after everybody left. He was the one
stay in such a place.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to forget. I have no clue. But he was the one that essentially. He wraps up the whole novel as well. He's the one that says, we'll all forget this again, but at least we knew we did something like that.
Oh, they forget it?
Yeah, they forget again. That's why when they left Derry in the first place, they forgot everything until they got the call from Mike. If Mike had not stayed there, he would have never called them all back to fight the Pennywise character.
Okay.
So
they all remember everything,
right? And anyway, like also stuff that he notes because dispersed through the novel.
It's been a long time since
I've dispersed through the novel, but he actually has that same role in the original miniseries. So it's so weird that he doesn't have that in this film. And I understand they got to have
it to him as an adult.
I know, but he should have had it in this one. They give it to Bill, the chunky kid, and it doesn't make any sense.
No,
but
Ben,
sorry. And anyway, but he just says like stuff in the original novel that's dispersed through. They show all the things that Pennywise did, like, and we do get referenced. There's a scene that's I'm not sure if it's mentioned in this film. I think it is, where a guy with an axe kills like a group of guys inside of a bar, and everybody's just watching it, not doing anything. But they do mention, yeah, that's an awesome scene because Pennywise has gone, he's possessing people. And there's another scene where these bank robbers, they get into town and the whole town lights them up with gunfire. They kill the bank robbers, the whole town, and then they just go back to normal business. And then another thing that's actually referenced in the film is a scene, but it's only like Easter egg stuff, because there's a scene where Ben is walking around in the library. You know the part where Ben walks through and he sees that smoldering Easter egg?
Yeah.
What happened in the novel, this is if you haven't read the novel.
Oh, it's a literal Easter egg. Okay.
It really is. Yeah, I guess so. I think about it that way, but there was something called the Ironworks, which I guess is it must have been some sort of power plant, or not a power plant, but some sort of iron plant.
Yeah, they mentioned it a few times.
And it was at the same time these kids were having an Easter egg hunt. There was 88 kids that get blown to smithereens, and they all explode. Yeah. And it's actually pretty chilling scene when Ben's looking through the book, and he's like, it looks like one of those what do you call it when you do the animations, hand animations with paper, a flip book sort of animation, when he's looking through the trees, and it's super. You see this kid's head floating or stuck in a tree because it's obviously must have got blown off and hit into a tree. Right. But that's actually the fate of another character that gets killed by Pennywise. Like the kid's head gets cut off and thrown into a tree.
Pennywise is a real dick.
He is. But that's what I think with Mike. They really reduced him. In the film, he shows up in the beginning because they changed his role in the fact that his father dies of cancer, and his father is intertwined history with who's that asshole kid? Henry Bauer's dad. In one of the funniest fucking lines in the book, because his father, Mike Bowers, is a black guy, and he lived in this town, and this is where all the racism came in the book. Like Henry Bowers' dad was like, "Get the fuck out of town, you N-word," all this and that, and then he came back and he kicked this fucking
nice guy.
He kicked Henry Bowers' dad's ass, and he's like, "Listen, if you say anything bad about me or any black person, I'm gonna just shoot you. That's it." And Henry Bowers' dad, the funniest line of the book, is like, "What kind of world is this when when a feller could threaten somebody?" Because he had to stop himself from saying those racist words. That was so fucking funny. It was just the way Steven Weber does it is funny. And in the movie now, because his father dies of cancer in the book,
now his grandpa's in
Mike
charge
Hanlon's.
of him.
Yeah, now I thought that was it his grandpa? Yeah, that was the guy from 21
grandpa.
Jump Street, I think. Oh yeah, no, that was X from the X-Files show.
Okay.
You don't know who the fuck that is, but
no, I don't.
It was from 21 Jump Street as well. But good actor, that guy. And his father and mother had died at a club called the Black Spot, which also took place in the book, but it took place in obviously the 1920s because there was a black spot where the jazz. It was burned down by these crazy, white power guys. Not necessarily Nazis, but they were like next to Nazis. Next to Klansmen type of guys. And they burned down this place because Pennywise told them to, essentially, or he influenced them to do that. But they changed it to this for his parents, so he's essentially. He just likes chaos.
He's a really nice guy. He's a clown.
He's from another planet. Why would he care about killing
he gets
people
a bad
of other
rap.
races?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh, anyway, so they changed Mike Hanlon's role, and that bothered me. And it's not because white people this or black people that. It's just that his character is very important, and his screen time is completely reduced in the film. But I understand that.
Well, hopefully in the second movie they'll make up for it.
Yeah, hopefully. I once they give that whole role,
there's no
to
reason
Ben,
why he can't be the historian in the second movie.
But that also introduces us to characters like Henry Bowers and his gang, Belch Huggins, and what is that one kid's name? The really tall, like 9 Inch Nails looking motherfucker, Patrick Hocksetter. Patrick Hocksetter is a tall, Trent Reznor looking motherfucker. And for their part, the bullies serve their, they're much more effective and creepier looking in this one than in the '90s version.
They're real douchebags.
They're obviously different versions because the assholes in the original version, the '50s version, they're like greaser types. But in this
like
one,
when Henry Bowers just
80s.
goes like complete batshit.
Yeah, obviously they changed the kids to the '80s. And it works for this film. I think it's good. Obviously it has that Stranger Things vibe, but what are you gonna do about it? But essentially, what Bill is trying to do, he's doing his private eye stuff. He's trying to find out he was telling because he was
mapping out the sewers and everything.
Yeah, because he believes that since they never found Georgie's body, he builds this whole sewer set, and his father's pissed off. He's like, "Listen, Georgie's dead," and he goes, "No, he must have went through this tube and popped out somewhere." In the Barrens. That's why he's always there with his buddies. They're all friends by now. In the book, they, you actually went time through time when these guys actually became friends. Like, like Richie would meet with Ben because
so they became friends because of Pennywise.
Essentially, yeah, they all just by happenstance.
Some of them do in the
other.
Movie too, but like, yeah.
They also change the relationship between.
Tanya Harding and
the girl, Beverly Marsh and her dad. They make him a lot more perverted in this film, sort of. I got that vibe. I don't know if you got that.
Well,
vibe.
they definitely implied it, but they didn't actually do.
Because he was much more abusive, but sort of a loving father, but completely abusive, which I guess would negate the loving part of being a dad. And there's also the part where she kills him. I believe she kills him, or she causes him great brain damage in the film. Which is, I guess, okay for a film because she comes back as an adult and he's not around. He's dead by then, but she didn't kill him necessarily in the book. Anyway, let's stick to this film and I'll stop trying to go back to the novel.
Yeah, stop with the
Sorry
book.
about that because I'll be here forever talking about it.
Like, I understand.
What did you think of the relationships of the kids in the film? Did it feel real to you?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I wish they gave, what's his name, the Jewish one, Stanley?
Yeah.
I wish they gave him like more though, because I felt like he was like totally like neglected. And yeah, Mike also was like kind of nothing, but he got more than Stanley. Even Stanley felt like a nothing character to me.
Really? Okay, I thought he was sort of. I mean, I thought he was. I thought that was more of
I mean,
Mike's.
they like briefly glimpse his dad's a rabbi. He's scared of this fucking painting, which was an awesome design, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to. That the painting that Stan. There's a scene where all these kids are having sort of their own personal fears. So Eddie Kasprak is afraid. His mother has basically put into his head that germs are horrible, and you'll get sick from anything. So he's afraid of a leper, which is this guy in the original novel. It's a leper.
I would be scared of that fucking thing too.
Yeah, who is played by the guy from the film Witching and
Basically,
Bitching.
Pennywise is like a boggart from Harry Potter.
Yeah, and it's funny because in the original novel, the leper is like, "I'll suck your dick, man." He's just running after him, offering him a blowjob, which is funny. And
well, like I said today, if somebody offers you a blowjob, you take it.
with no nose.
Well, there's an extra hole.
So, yeah, the leper was played by the guy from Witching and Bitching, the brother that was stuck underneath the toilets, and he was also the alien in Alien Covenants, the Spanish actor, who's really skinny. He's sort of like the Spanish version of the guy who plays Abe Sapien in the Hellboy movies. Anyway, but also the scene with Stanley Uris when he sees that painting, I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was a Junji Ito reference, because somebody had said that Junji Ito's this Japanese artist. He had a film based on his work called Gyo,
really
as well as
one, right?
Uzumaki. Right, yeah, and it's based on the art of Modigliani, which is this woman playing a flute.
You can say more Italian. Modigliani.
Well, Modigliani didn't do that painting that's in this film, but you said it also inspired the director's other character, right? From his film.
Well, that's what it said on IMDb.
What was his other movie?
Mama.
Okay, which was produced by Guillermo del Toro. And so anyway, that interactions between these kids is very much like an 80s film. They curse. My favorite character, obviously, I think yours as well, is played by Finn Wolfhard, who's playing Richie Tozier. Finn Wolfhard, who's playing Mike.
Yeah, I like Richie a lot.
Mike is a character from Stranger Things. Finn Wolfhard plays him as well, and he's completely different character from Stranger Things as he's playing Eddie in this one. He's much funnier.
Like, totally.
Much
it's
funnier.
Weird because now I think of him like this.
Yeah, he's great in this one. You almost be like, oh, why is he not going to curse in Stranger Things? It was funny because this person who was reviewing the show, she was like, once you see this film, you're going to be like, man, Stranger Things got to, step up its game. But that's the thing. People have a much more nostalgic feeling with Stranger Things as a PG-13 sort of film. Do you remember a PG-13 sort of show?
Stranger Things is amazing. But
it is. Well, but when you see this, you're like, wow, I really miss this sort of Stand By Me, 80s kids, able to talk like real kids. Because when we were kids, we cursed a lot. You know what I mean? I cursed a lot. I cursed so much that when I got older,
basically Richie, that character. That
right.
Was me.
Same here. And I was more Ben with Richie at the same time. But I remember when I got older, I would actually hear kids talk like this, and I was like, oh my God, heavens to mercy! Like hearing kids talk filthy, I was like, this is horrible. But Richie Tozier doesn't see anything until the awesome projector
house
scene. Because in the original book, he gets chased by a 10-foot statue of Paul Bunyan. The Paul Bunyan statue makes it into the film, but it doesn't chase him around. And I was waiting. I was like, oh my God, it would have been so awesome if he chased him with that fucking axe. It would be because it was a crazy scene.
Actually.
They're walking around, and you actually just see the Paul Bunyan statue. It's obviously a super Easter egg for the film. You actually just see it. And,
that's cool, though. I mean, unlike Dark Tower, they actually fucking read the source material.
No, there's tons of reference. They cared about it. Like, there was a big thing about explaining, even...
I'm sure there was a reason why they didn't do the Paul Bunyan, maybe... time, maybe they thought it was
there's no way you can completely explain everything in this film, because a big thing in the novel is Bill's bicycle called Silver, which he has Hilo Silver. He yells that every 5 seconds when he's riding his bike, but that
I'm glad they didn't do that.
In this one, the bike just says Silver on it. It's written Silver on the side, so it's like Easter eggs like crazy. But let's get to the projector scene, which is an insane jump scare scene. That
that was the Where is the Giant, right?
Yeah, where they're watching, and it was you can see it in the trailer when they're looking at this image of
I only watched the first trailer, the teaser trailer, and I remember thinking, this isn't going to be that good. Like
yeah, it didn't look that great, but there's a scene where Bill's like with his family, like photos of him and Georgie and his mother and father, and his mother's hair is blowing in the wind, and eventually it turns into Pennywise's face, and then the machine just keeps going on, and then obviously Pennywise jumps through the wall, and he's like a giant man, and it's just really well done.
So he could basically like teleport and shit.
Yeah, like the aesthetics of the film are just fucking incredible. Just the look of it, like the scene where all the blood shoots around the room, and we get to see
when
that.
He's like freaking out and going through all these changes at one point, like towards the end.
When he's fighting the losers at the end?
Yeah, but like, and he's changing into like a fucking crab and all this kind of shit. Like, it was awesome. Like, they really...
Yeah, because he's trying to scare each kid. He's trying to scare each kid with their original fears. So, he's trying to win some ground, but he's not working on them. So that's when he starts freaking out at the end. And I think that really works for Bill Skarsgård's performance, is that he got to do a lot with this film in a completely different way than Tim Curry's version, because Tim Curry was more mocking. He was a mocking sort of villain. You know what I mean?
Clown.
Here, he's not mocking. He's just like, I'm gonna fucking get you. You know what I mean? It's not mocking.
Yeah, he's like a lunatic monster. Like,
right.
Basically.
And I appreciate Tim Curry's performance, but I also like this guy's version. I like both their performances.
Now I want to like rewatch the original one.
Yeah, I mean, it's only worth watching Tim Curry's parts. The rest of it's not that good.
Well, I love John Ritter too.
Yeah, he is actually pretty good. There's
he's Ben, right?
What do you think about the way the performances of the adults in this film and what they're all about? They're all like monstrous.
They're kind of just like boogeymen. They're kind of useless.
Yeah,
I mean, well, they're not useless, but they're not characters. They're like, you got this. Oh God, Eddie's mom.
Yeah.
I swear to God, like I was like punching at the screen. I was so angry at her.
Was it therapeutic for you, or?
And no, every detail of this woman stressed me out. The way her jumpsuit, her horrible jumpsuit she's wearing, like the exact way she talked, like how she looks, everything. Oh my God.
Sophia Lillis says Beverly Marsh was very good in the film. She was really excellent, and she had to, play this girl who's sort of forced tomboy, who obviously has problems at home with her father, and dealing with
her dad's basically like a rapist, abusive guy, or all
these all these rumors in school and girls treating her like shit just because that's how it is. Like, it's horrible. Like, I'm sure as much as guys act like dicks towards each other, women could probably be worse as girls with each other. Is that sexist?
Heard that no, I've heard that.
Sorry, excuse me, ladies.
That girls tease like really, really bad, like growing up. I don't know.
Yeah, so
I don't know if that's true, but I know guys would just like fight. Maybe and bully a little bit, which isn't good either. It's obviously very bad. But
yeah, I guess it's just like two different sides of the spectrum. But
yeah,
anyway, but I thought that she was really excellent in the film. I thought she was good. It's weird that they use her as a MacGuffin at the end of the film, because in the original, in the book, she's with them, and they omit the slingshot because Beverly is a really good slingshot user. And she, fucks up Pennywise. What am I supposed to say? What do you call it? What would you call it? Slingshotter?
Slingshotter.
So they believe, in their belief in the book, the kids, because it's obviously about a power of belief. That's like in the original 1990s miniseries. They thought that, just like you thought if you'd kill a vampire with a stake, they were like, we can kill this thing with silver. We'll make silver bullets. But, I mean, not silver balls, and then we'll use a slingshot.
I would choose something cheaper.
And Beverly uses
if I'm making it up anyway, I might as well.
Yeah, right.
Cheaper.
Beverly uses Matzo's crackers, but Beverly is a sling. She uses a slingshot to fuck up Pennywise, which sends him back to wherever he goes to. And in this film, they use her as a MacGuffin, like she's a victim. Like Pennywise, and I'm not. This isn't some women's rights thing. She should be equal. Well, obviously she should, because her character.
Well, they have to rescue.
Is not taken right. They make her somebody who's rescued. That's what happens to. They transpose. When they're adults, it's
but she's also like the biggest badass of all of them,
right?
With the exception of Bill.
In the novel and in the original miniseries, it's Bill's wife when he's an adult that gets into the deadlights and taken by Pennywise.
Wait,
against him.
Don't you feel bad for Ben being just totally cockblocked? He kissed Beverly and got her out of the trance. He gave her
and that was like a real, that was more of a passionate kiss with Ben than when Bill does it. You know what I mean? It's like you actually see like that motherfucker got into it. He got in deep. He was like,
so man, why does she then like Bill? What the fuck is that about?
He's Bill skinny.
She's no sapiosexual, I'll tell you that.
She's Bill's a skinny boy. Trust me, when I was growing up as a faggot, nobody was running towards my doors.
No one's running towards me. I'm a skinny boy.
As soon as I lost all the weight, it was Pussy City, right, guys? High five. And
misogynist pick. I would never talk.
I don't know.
Like
I thought Pussy City's like. I always Pussy's a great thing. This is when you. No. You know when you wear the hat on, the pink hat to go against certain presidents. It's called Pussy Power or something like that. Anyway. So, yeah, obviously it's a thing about it's unrequited love. Ben obviously likes her, and she thinks it's adorable because he writes her that little poem. But she's into Bill, and they do date in the book, and I think they were supposed to lose virginity to. Well, they all lost their virginity to
Ben and Beverly.
Yeah, they date for a while, and then they broke up. Also, a thing that people online were like, they're essentially bringing up is there was an orgy scene with all the kids having sex with Beverly because they wanted to, I guess.
Is that true?
You never read this book? What is wrong with you?
Dude, I read like bits of it when I was fucking 10.
In the novel, after the first time when they defeat Pennywise, Beverly has a great idea, I guess, of
is a great idea.
Signifying that they should all have sex because it's something that it's like a painful thing of going from kids to adulthood, and I guess they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Obviously, after.
Can I just say though? I mean, that's just like. She's just like a really horny girl, like trying to use this whole situation to her advantage. She's like, she just have sex with each other. That will be.
She looked out for an alien man or alien creature just so she can sleep with 7 guys that want to run.
No, but what I'm saying is this whole thing happened, and she's like, "Well, this was really bad. How can I use this to get laid?"
Like a guy. She didn't realize the power that she had. She went overboard. She's like, whoops. But it's weird because, obviously not everybody's making a big deal about it. Stephen King's like, I wonder why people are so, obsessed with the scene. That tells you more about that than they do care about the child murderers. I was like, well, you have preteens having sex with each other in a book. What do you expect? Like, I'm not offended by the scene. Obviously, it's a weird... It's obviously a weird scene, and it seems like it comes out of nowhere because right after they have sex, they cut their hands open and they join blood, which is something you would think would make sense more in sort of this thing. Like they could have just done that.
They could have done a halfway point. They could have cut their hands open, rubbed it on each other's genitals, and then held hands.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of people have issues with that scene, and there's other people who obviously super creeps. They're like, that should be in the movie. That should be in there. It's like, no, it's all right. It doesn't need to be in the film.
Who the hell wants to see
Take a guess.
Wolfgang in a threesome or something?
Finn Wolfgang.
What the hell is his name?
Finn Wolfhard, which is appropriate as well.
I could call him Finn Wolfsoft.
There's also scenes, obviously, when they try to fight Pennywise in his house. That's where the well is, which leads to the sewer system. Yeah. And there's scenes with Richie, with Bill, and they show him they're trying to get him. And in the original, when he fights all the kids, and he turns into a werewolf in the original one, and that's when they kind of kick his ass for the first time. In this version, he gets to get away, and I mean,
an asshole.
It's insane. It's just an insane film. It's really well done.
What was your favorite monster of Pennywise?
What's weird is I like Pennywise himself. I thought that the Pennywise design and the use of him. If you're talking about any other thing besides,
not even
Pennywise,
like what he becomes, but just like what's your favorite scene of that happens, like of him,
like when he turns into another creature,
or even just a version. Like mine is like maybe I love the leper and the giant.
The leper's
scene.
Great. That leper is like just so frightening looking. It's just really disgusting looking, and I love the how thin and tall that actor is that plays him.
And his eye is like so free. I love the giant scene too because it was just like I didn't expect it at all.
Yeah, so it's like, really well done, and it's like jump scares, and you can see some of them coming ahead of time, but it's done so well that you don't give a. I mean, it's just aesthetically so fucking good, and I mean the scene with the headless person coming down the stairs. I just love how that was, done because you just see this body, you just see this person, you just see this person coming down the staircase, and then you see there's no fucking head attached to the body. Like, oh my god!
But the way the feet are moving so quick, like
right,
cartoon funny thing. It was
the
really
leper.
Good.
The leper was played by Javier Botet, the Spanish actor. The long, like the guy looks like I think he's one of those skinny 6'7" type of guys. Those really tall, thin guys, like kind of thin like you, but taller. And anyway, but I liked Pennywise's design. I just like how bizarre he moved. Like the part when Richie is stuck in that house and he he has a fear of clowns, and he walks into a room full of clowns, and then he opens up this case, and there's a wax dummy or a dummy of him with the same clothing on. And then he closes it, and then somebody was saying that why the fuck did Pennywise jump out of that box with a superhero pose like an X-Men? And then he chases him.
I thought it was funny. He's just having fun.
Yeah, and that scene when I love that scene down basically the very last half of the film, like the last 10 minutes when they're fucking around with Pennywise, and Beverly sees that weird vision of him doing that goofy dance in the fire. Like, I love it because it was so free. It's a freaky movie. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I think everything about the film is just so well done. Like, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's okay. It's an okay adaptation. But the more I thought about it, I was like, wow, there's a lot done that's really good.
This is a fucking legit good movie.
Yeah, for what it is.
I think it's better for me because I don't remember anything about the book. And I barely even remember the movie, even though I've seen it a bunch of times. But the last time was like when we reviewed it, like
even the kid playing Georgie, even the kid playing Georgie was very good in the film. Like, he played him really well. Like, everybody's very good in this film. I just wish that they had not fucked over Mike's character so much and made him sort of really
for the
two-dimensional.
Second one because they might make him like a
but I think it's the fact that it's in this one. Like that's what I wanted to see his character, because his character is very important, and just to be like, all of a sudden, now he's the town historian. It's like, what? No, he should have been in the first one. So we'll see what they do, because Ben is an architect in the books, and Mike is the one that's working in the library. He stayed in the library, so although Ben did stay around the books, who gives a fuck? It's a fun film, and I just wish they had.
Hey, why do you got to use that language, yo?
Excuse me. And it's so funny because it ends in a positive way, because if you read the book, obviously some of the characters don't, like two of the characters don't make it out fully to the end of the book, not as kids but as adults. But I like how that positive ending where he's
what if they died as kids, Beverly but then made it out as adults?
That's true. That'd be a real strange movie, I tell you that. But I did like the interactions with all the kids. I love Eddie Kazbrak's sort of neurotic kid with this cast on his arm, and the girl writes loser on it, and
I have a friend
he writes
just
lover
like that.
instead. Yeah, there's a lot of kids like that. I think it's who doesn't get a fear of being sick, and I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, you can actually talk a lot about this film, but I think we've talked enough about this film. But it's incredible.
What do you think of the music? What do you think of the music?
I thought it was serviceable. There was nothing really that stood out to me. I mean, what did you think?
Yeah, that's exactly. I felt like that was the most boring part of the movie.
Yeah, I think it's about as general as you can with a horror film, sort of that, I mean, there's...
Yeah, but I mean, this movie would have been even better if there was better
also
music.
A shout-out to Street Fighter 1, one of the worst video games of all time, for TurboGrafx 16. Yikes, by Capcom.
Was M. Bison in it?
No, but it was a Mike Bison, like Mike Tyson.
Did what's it called, came out in TurboGrafx, really?
That's how I remembered it, yeah. It was an arcade game, and it went to...
Street Fighter?
Yeah. Go look for it. You can look for it on YouTube. It's horrible. But Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård is great as Pennywise. All the scenes where he's trying to freak the kids out. The parts where, obviously it's all CG enhanced, when he pops out of a fridge and he's like twisting his body around like a machine. And then there's,
was fun.
When Georgie turns into him at the end. And what did you think about the big deal about him losing his powers of fear? Because that's how it was in the book as well. But they kicked his ass, and in this one they did it as well. Like, he's like, you're not afraid of me anymore, that kind of thing. And he was just like, he jumps into the well and just disappears, and that's it.
Well, that's like, that didn't bother me at all. That's very much like the same thing with Dandelo.
Okay. How'd they kill Dandelo? I forgot about that. Did some kid fucking draw him to the...
Susanna... Well, this is Dark Tower spoiler alerts, but Susanna was in the bathroom because she was laughing so hard, and she popped this like.
Oh, right.
And then she like realized what was happening, and Oi was freaking out, also barking a lot. So then once she was like escaped the glamour of him, she was able to go back and like, kill him.
So what do you think is the worst part of this film?
The music.
That's it. Yeah,
and it's not even bad. It's not even bad. It's just not even.
This is a film based on like a section of a book that's about 1,000+ pages, so you can't really fault them for having to cut material out. It was 2 hours and plus minutes.
Yeah, like all the stuff
is.
you're saying, like from the book.
Yeah,
I don't even remember any of it, so it doesn't matter to me.
Right. So I just listened to it recently, and as an audiobook, I think it sticks more for some reason.
If I didn't even remember the orgy scene, then I clearly don't remember the book.
I bet you that's the first thing you're gonna run to watch. I
ever read it all the way through. Like, I don't even remember.
It's a book worth listening to. The audiobook is great, and but I thought the worst part obviously was how they handled Mike's character. But that's just me as a book purist sort of thing. I'm not really a book purist, but when it's something that's pretty important for a character to be fleshed out, and he's just sort of like not there, I think that's the only thing that's worse for me. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty compelling film, and it did feel like a cool sort of 80s horror film in its own right. And the kids talked like real characters. I believed the characters throughout the whole film. The dynamics between them was really fun. And I'm just pissed that they won't all be together for the sequel. It's going to be all adults. But the sequel's supposedly going to be about
flashback scenes.
Hopefully.
Once or twice.
Yeah, but I mean, they've dealt with Pennywise in this. It's not like they're going to deal with him again because he's going to be under for 27 years.
Of like the in-between they went after or something.
That'd be pretty fun, actually. Yeah, they should do that because the adults don't really do much in the books. But I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it a lot. Originally, I would have given this a 6, but I'm going to give this an 8. And a 9, actually. 7.
You were gonna give it a 6?
When I initially saw it, because you know what it was, I was watching and I was like sort of too much comparing it to the original miniseries and the novel. You know, it took a big hit. But I'll give it a 7. A 7 out of 10. Sorry, Danny. A 7 out of 10. Seeing a mannequin of yourself pop out of a box, and for some reason closing another box, and a giant clown comes out of it and tries to eat your face.
Okay. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. A 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. A crazy person falls down a well like 30, 50 feet. I mean, really far.
Oh, yeah, Henry Bowers. That was great how they dealt with him.
The way he fell down the well, like, he has to be dead, but somehow he's going to be alive in the next movie as, like, a villain.
Very racist movie. They give the one black kid the superpower of a gun. Very racist. Super racist. He's the only one that has a gun throughout the movie. How dare they? All they needed was for him to tilt the gun to the side like a gangster. Fucking racist director.
How could
bastards.
they do that? Damn.
But it was Bill who shoots fake Georgie. So there you go. Yeah, I liked it. So Danny, what's the final word?
Blue squares. We all float down here.
The horror deconstruction.